Young women, if you were a media buyer and went to find young women on the web, you'd buy these sites. If you looked at Nielsen's or ComScore, if your agency came in and said, I want to buy young women. If you want to buy concentration of young women, you'd see a different list of sites. If you want to buy concentration of young women into fashion who are influencers, a very different list of sites, and Imran showed a list. So I think that just gives you a pretty quick succession of graphics that show you how you need to, I think, really think about working into this long tail. Okay. New metrics. We talk about impressions today. It's the wrong metric. We must start to think about brand engagements anywhere on the web. And an engagement means someone has to do something. You'll get your impressions for free. So you probably shouldn't pay for them, right? Which, again, kind of is the issue of internet advertising today. We're buying impressions, no one's clicking. Impression costs are going down, understandably, because as a marketer, you're not valuing them as highly as you used to. We need to break that. One way we break it is as an advertiser, think about really creating the engagement and not just the click, or not the click. Monthly uniques will become cookies. I believe in 3 years, you'll be asked by your CEO, how many cookies did you collect this month? Google collects the most cookies currently, probably, on the planet. Facebook fans and followers, I think it's the right metric today. How many do I have and what is the cost of acquisition? I believe we'll very quickly turn to how many people does a single fan then create, right? So the notion of social spread. I was with the Bitly guys a couple weeks ago. Bitly is that URL shortener. It's that thing you use to shorten a URL and share it. They are very active as a platform inside of Facebook, Twitter, of course, email. 50 million URLs are shortened a month. That's interesting. It's a big number. Here's what's stunning. 3 billion content views off of 50 million shortened URLs. This stuff is really spreading fast, right? And then finally, I still think we have a little bit of a sense that the blog is about PR, and I believe that PR as it relates to blog is like renting space. I think we need to lease space on blogs, kind of short-term to long-term leases. Really think about integrating our presence on the sites that we care about. So I think we're getting ready for a new set of audience metrics. I spend a lot of time with brands and their agencies. I think these are 3 most important cultural attributes, if you will, inside of the winners. You are willing to fail fast, often, violently, furiously, right? A, because this stuff's hard to control, and B, you just need to iterate, and iterating means you fail. And so if you don't have that culture, it's hard to say, I want that culture all of a sudden. But I think that if you have a choice of working at 2 organizations on digital marketing, pick the one I think that will at least support this at some level. There are best practices. We heard a bunch of them today. What we need to do is go back and with discipline, bring those inside. You don't have to fail every time. Others have failed for you. Bring those best practices inside and follow them. And I think you need very strong support from the top. I think David Duplantis is being so successful a coach because he has tremendous support across the whole organization, sort of from top to bottom. I think it's critical. And the third is the team. It's not big enough. You can't buy your way into this success anymore. I believe it's more about people than money going forward, particularly in social and conversational media. And I think that we're lacking some of the science. I think we're strong on art. And I think that as marketers, geeks, nerds, and quantitative people need to be added to your teams, particularly if you're going to play with data and play with things like cookies. 3 tough questions to ask. This is a very high bar. Is your content worth sharing? Ads are content. So if they don't comment or share, my opinion is they don't care, particularly Gen Y. So everything you're doing from an execution standpoint, I think you have to ask that question. Will someone comment or share this? Will they shorten the URL and tweet about it or forward it in an email, right? Will they retweet? Any type of sharing. We've heard a lot about this today. I won't belabor it. You can't bring them back. You should be happy they don't come back. You should be finding ways for them to transact, not on your home page or your own .com. And there's some great technology starting to get momentum around enabling people to actually transact, sort of distributed shopping carts even, sort of product catalogs and shopping carts elsewhere. But I think sort of as a mantra, This is an important one. The third tough question is, do you have the right marketing partners? And probably not, right? My guess is Polyvore was on no one's list 2 years ago, and my sense is Polyvore will be on everybody's list in 5 years, meaning you're going to want a deep, long-lasting, economically viable relationship with a site like that or a network like that. So I think there's a whole new set of media marketing partnerships to be developed, and I would suggest you should start writing that list up today and see how well do you know the people inside those organizations, and do you have an economically viable partnership set up yet? Okay, a little bit of homework, if you will. This is for the CFO. So I had lunch with, sat next to Jeff Hazlitt, the CMO of Kodak. Actually just left to promote his book, but he's been at Kodak for 4 years as CMO, and he's been funding and promoting a lot of social media and digital media marketing. I asked him, well, where'd the money come from? He said, we got lucky. He canceled the Olympics sponsorship and freed up $100 million. So, I mean, you know, that great thing to do. I think a lot of foresight to do that. Most of us don't have that luxury and don't have access to those kinds of budgets. But I think we're going to have to start to build scorecards where when we go and ask for the money, we're really starting to show that we are able to identify the cost to acquire and the 12 to 36-month revenue based on the source of the acquisition. And it was great to hear Perry Ellis talk about a Facebook fan costing $1.67. I think that's what it was. So now they will figure out, you know, and it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy for all the great tracking tools and dashboards out there, and you know, it's not easy yet. But I think that's the direction we have to show, and I think you have to show your CFO you're willing to do the hard work to get there. The second homework assignment is I think you should be able to fill this chart out: 25, 250, and 1,000. The sites that you care about, sites that drive your brand on the web. And you know, this is probably no more than 2 or 3 days' work. The hard work is going and finding a way to engage in a scaled way, and in my opinion, not PR-driven, but sort of editorially and programmatically driven with these sites.